We'll get started here just as soon as Mike gets back. You made it.
I did.
We get a chair short. There you go.
I literally got home at 10:07. Hey, Greg. Hey, Bill. Hey, Jared.
Good to see you.
Yeah. You too? Right. Yeah, hey, we slide.
You should have been on the right side.
Right. See, everybody noticed it. Come out.
We're driving highway, right?
Sure.
Good to see you. Okay, we'll call our meeting to order. The pledge of the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any agenda changes? There being none, we'll leave it as presented. Public comment? Say, okay. Approval of our minutes. We have the June 16th, public hearing minutes for the Jim Monson rezoning request. Motion to approve those minutes. I'll move to approve. Second.
I support it. That's June 13th. Not 16th.
Ah, you're right. Typo. Motion made and seconded. Any further comment?
Who made them again? Gary?
Gary seconded and
Greg.
Greg made the motion.
Thank you.
all in favor, say aye.
I.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our second minutes are for the regular, was that special meeting?
Yeah, it was because it wasn't scheduled, right?
Okay. Our special meeting held June 13th. Those minutes. Motion to approve.
Move to approve that too.
Motion by Greg, second.
I'll support.
Second by Terry. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, old and ongoing business. Regarding the Jim Monson rezoning request, we did hold a public hearing. I did submit information up to about what we've done up to this point to the county commissioners. And they sent me back a reply that they waived any discussion or comment. And that's their right, they don't have to support anything. So I think we followed all the steps. So I'm gonna open it up to discussion on the rezoning. Did you guys get a chance to look at the letter that I roughly drafted, just to keep everybody up to date on where we were and everything? Any questions or what are you thinking?
I thought we kind of decided that you were gonna
want to do the ratification, we just want to. This is a little step. I mean, we did have a couple negative comments, but, you know, it's kind of what I expect when you're in close proximity to a change like this. But I thought we explained it pretty well, to them. And, so forth.
For our discussions, I have more positive points, or more reasons to approve than reasons to disapprove. We want to lower, through all the line items.
What's that?
I don't know if we want to go through, through all the beauty stuff, but we want to start with details.
There was not any checklist per se for this, like there is for the site plan. But there is 3 things that said you should judge it on. But consistency, I think, was compatibility and third C. Case.
The consistency with existing zoning, I have that. Compliance is with master plan. Land uses. Regulatory compliance. And minimal to no impact on traffic and public facilities. These are like, the reasons to.
Yeah, those are all good points. I mean, my biggest thing I thought of the whole process was, he's recognizing whether that zoning change, that all the uses under that C1 zone are now available to that property. It's not just the applicants, he's thinking he's gonna do a tower, or some communication tower. So that was to me the number one thing that we really had to review, and I think we did that. And I think we, the zoning itself has, as I stated before, the protections in place to make sure that that commercial use, when it butts a residential use, there's enough provisions in there for correct setbacks and so forth, that there wouldn't be a big conflict. Yeah. So do you need a motion rather than? Yes, we would. And I'd like to recommend that we, I'd like to make a motion to recommend. So, if he's only any questions.
Second.
Okay, we'll let Mike write up the motion here, but. The motion to be made and seconded. The one thing I think we need to include, I'll draft a letter again to them. But I want to make sure that we have a good map of the area for them to look at so they can see it, they all know it. In other words, get a better idea of all the relationships and so forth.
Right. Jim had a good thing that he gave us before. That had it all.
Yeah, so we can include that. But I think even maybe just a shot of the zoning map. Jason can do this maybe. That encompasses at least the 300 feet radius. So that, just so that they got questions that might move the process along and the answer. You do the motion there.
Still working.
They like to change I just recommend it be smooth. This would be required just to shut them down. Better. Yeah, get some better graphic of what's going on. Right, we can show that and then just. And you realize where the dollar again was, that sort of. Showing it, well, you show it, yeah, well. You don't make it. That's you do. And this way you're. That's pretty much it, for sure, but, you know, once this happens, then I'll see what that will do. This will be, this would be my question. Well, right. That can be probably, maybe next month. Right. Yeah, well. Yeah, what is it?
Okay. Here's what I have for the wording. Move to recommend the approval of Mr. James Slane's request to rezone the portion of his property, parcel number 7200401500800320. Zoned as low density residential district R2 to local commercial district C1. I didn't put anything like, to be consistent with the rest of the property that's currently zoned. Back, we could put bullets or something like that, but I think that could be done in the letter. That'll all be later, so it's motion. Yeah.
How do you start the motion?
Yes, it's move to recommend the, actually I should put recommend to the Garrish Township.
Yeah, I mean. Anybody can ask it with zoning of any property, you don't have to. So that's a part of. When I identify.
Yeah, in that case too, I would think. Because some of the history on that we used in the previous minutes, they pointed out that he purchased the property with the stipulation that it would be zoned, their change to that C1 zoning thing when it was for 6 months, and then basically it was revoked after. You know, the neighbors came and the people he bought it from, I believe it was, had said, no, I disagree with that, and they went back and did it, so that. Right. So yes, we're looking at, I know that the ZBA.
Okay, so are we good with the motion?
So I just read it again, just move to recommend the approval of the Garrish Township Board of Mr. James Osling's request to rezone the portion of his property, parcel number 720040150080032. It's zoned as low density residential district R2 to local commercial district C.
All in favor of the said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, I'll get that. Drafted off. And up to the township board. I don't know when they meet again. I think they just met.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
August 13th. The work session will be August 8th.
So Jim, on the agenda, I have sketch site plan for communication tower. We just put that on hold until you come back to us.
Yep, I just
The new
needed to
plan,
get this piece done, and then,
if it gets passed, all that.
yeah, when do you anticipate meeting again?
Our next meeting is not scheduled, the normal one is September. Second week of September.
Well,
Yeah, I will get the ball rolling on if they want to still continue and go ahead with it, this needed to be done, and then if they do, they've got some drawings to do for sure, you know,
Well, yeah, you gotta get through the township early.
but I think I'm confident enough to let them start spending their money. Site plan for the next step for things. Thank you, appreciate it.
Next on the agenda was the WIT site plan, but we haven't received any more information on that or anything, so we'll put it on the agenda, but we'll move forward. Next is Mark Severin, site plan review for storage building West Federal Highway. We got your documents, Mark.
Hope I got everything you needed. Kind of new to this here. Paperwork, yeah. Do you feel like you got everything you needed?
I believe so.
Yeah, I have not cross-referenced yet. Everything that he had, basically he provided the narrative. Essentially the bullet list right here. And. I think,
Get a copy of your minutes.
yeah. I skimmed through it. There were a couple things that needed, or were supposed to be included, I think, on the site plan as well. So the first thing was, from the minutes and stuff, was a summary of the checklist items that we had, was the project narrative stuff. He provided this right here. I believe you've got everything covered. And yeah, one thing, I just want to confirm the height, 30 feet by 80 feet for the pole barn.
Yes.
The height on that.
The height is, you know, I don't have any paperwork with me, I come right from a job site, right, to make it here on time, but. Did you not have the drawings? Did I?
The one I had was microscopic.
I got it.
I believe I can repeat that. I had put,
Well, didn't I give you like a pretty large?
yeah, and I had in the minutes 60 feet by 30 feet by 18 feet. And I was trying to read the microscope.
No, it would have been 30 by 80. The height, I don't recall though.
I think that was. I got a magnifying glass here.
I thought
It meets the building code.
Large
So,
drawings.
yeah, I don't think it's,
Gotcha.
too relevant, I guess, the height.
My thought tells me 14 feet, right?
14 feet.
It seems like that.
I think the location on your property is not going to interfere with anybody else's. You're in the middle of your property, and obviously the height.
Yeah,
Jason will flag you if it's doesn't meet
Yeah.
code, so.
Yeah, I mean,
we
the
don't
height-
really need to worry.
yeah, for accessory structures for residential is 21 feet now. I mean, you're under that.
Okay.
This is, I don't recall it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
For commercial, it's different, but I think
Okay.
this is there. I was just trying to do.
30 feet, it's 30 feet.
30 feet for, yeah, here we are, but. From what I can see here, it looks like 18 feet in height.
It might have been 18.
Yeah, and then I had 60 feet, and I was just going by the. The drawings, but you're saying 80 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to put here, but I put the minutes last night.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that's correct, here, I was wrong.
No.
So,
Are you propane?
Yeah.
Okay. I think. Yeah, I think you got everything. The only thing is, on your site plan itself. You want to show the well head. You know, you're saying it's 98
Yep.
or 68 feet.
68 and then the septic, it's a raised septic.
Yeah, so if you can just show those on your drawing.
Yep.
You know, just scale it out and have them added to the drawing.
right,
You might want to show where the propane tank is too. Basically, we want to just see what anything that's on the site existing location. We're doing a little more detail than you probably experienced in the past. Because it's, as people, things are changing, it's a lot easier to look back at it and say, okay, this is right here and there, you got a record of it that way, even for yourself.
So, right, so I would need to go back to Tom then and have him draw another drawing and.
Well, he just take his drawing and just send it to it.
Yeah,
You tell him it's where it's at on the property of the building, and he can just put a spot on there and label it, and that's all you need. So it won't take him long to.
right,
right,
You
and
can
that
really wait.
well, I'll just get that information that I have over to him and he'll do it.
Yeah.
Um,
And we can approve it conditionally
Okay.
with that, telling him when he gets that, then that's not a showstopper.
Okay,
Because we have, you give us information what's gonna be in that. But it would be like the septic, and where the water is and the well, and then also the utilities on there. I think you had the utilities marked partially, but it wasn't complete. On there, so they just recheck that.
okay.
I don't know.
How close is it to the property line?
204 feet on one side.
On one side is quite a bit, and then the other side's probably 100 and something.
Okay, on the property. Make sure the water stays on the property.
Property's flat.
Is the propane tank marked, is it a new tank for the heat for this building?
You know, I haven't really thought about that yet, if I can run off the existing.
Yeah.
Or put a new tank in, I don't know what would be. Would it be okay if I run off the same tank?
I don't see a problem with this. I don't know what your proximity though.
Pardon?
Whatever the code is,
Yeah. I don't know.
The propane company would tell you if they can do it or not.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, we'll check with them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
In this, I'm just not familiar with it, but it says power supply in 220 and no service.
oh, look at here.
So it's, What does that mean? Does that mean that there's not a separate?
Yeah.
Because,
Well, what I wanna put 220 in the new building.
yeah,
I have 220 in the existing building, and I would just run that.
Run it over.
Yeah,
rather than having to either like a second.
Yes.
building.
yeah, that would be my goal, if it's
Yeah.
cold, whatever code requires.
Yeah, your electricians, you think the bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I really had was. Still on the plan, your well location, your septic and field.
That wasn't located, that wasn't marked on them drawings, eh?
No,
No? Okay.
and your propane tank, just your utilities.
Yeah,
Electric and everything.
yeah.
Yes, everything else I saw, that you get the permits, nothing required there. Get the toxic hazardous underground storage statement out, we got that. Public private utilities locations, you specified locations, but it's just put on site plan supervision. And then the completion schedule, basically, I think it's 45 days from start to finish, and there's no major, now, some things you may get a little more involved, like, yeah, you got the foundation, then you gotta do some other stuff and. Scrape it off and. Or.
Ray, anything else? No?
I have a motion for approval.
Well, I would think it would, yeah, if we come up with a motion to approve, contingent on supplying the updated site plan itself with these items on it. And then get those to Jason. Good to go.
Very good.
Get it done next week.
I'll take a few minutes, I'm just gonna review the stuff, get the wording correctly. Do what I just did.
Building like 19 feet.
That would have
19 on there.
Yeah, I might have been feeling fine.
I'm making up right now, I'll give you that. And I have. Okay.
Okay, here's what I have. Move to approve the site plan as submitted by the owner applicant, Mr. Mark Severance of Northern Michigan, Metal Roofing. For the property located at 6355 West Federal Highway, Ross County, Michigan 4653. Parcel number 72004001025007 and 72004001025075. As it meets the requirements of a final site plan review for compliance and completeness as specified in the Garrish Township zoning ordinance on the conditions that the septic system, well, propane tank, and utility locations are specified in look on the conditions that the septic system, well, propane tank and utilities locations specified in the project narrative are included in the site plan drawings.
Sounds good.
What was the address?
It's 6355.
I have 635. Yeah, that's 635. Yeah.
Okay,
635 West Federal.
yep, got it. Yeah, I see that. And so I made another mistake in the minutes. That's two. Oh, actually three, same set. Lose it. Okay. Yeah. I'll make the motion.
A second,
All second.
second by Val. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So you get that. Those items identified onto the site plan of your drawings. And then to Jason, should be good, Bill.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Jason, did you want to get into those ordinance changes or not?
I can quickly, yes.
Why don't we just do those?
I've been working with Scott Hess a little bit on
Some of that?
a couple of them, yeah.
Which one?
So I think the shoreline stabilization is great just the way it is.
Okay,
And then the manufactured housing, when we're scrapping that,
right.
the mini storage facilities, that's just adding Article 10 to that, I believe. Don't have any issues with that.
Okay, slow down, repeat. I'm sorry. First one was,
The shoreline stabilization, Article 20, heading next subsection, and everything was okay. I could send you a sheet that's got all that.
okay,
You could have it, but you don't.
Yeah. good, okay, so shoreline one, the second one was,
The manufactured housing, we were trying to,
Limit their age. We decided we couldn't do that, so that's scrap.
so we'll, yeah, scrap that whole. And then the mini storages,
quick question there, and then on the shoreline stabilization. You're talking as is in here, not as is,
no, we're adding a new section.
okay, and then,
We're adding new subsection C to B4.
Starting on the manufactured housing. So there's like nothing we can do like whether with the age. Nor like the inspections. Nope.
This is
Right, okay.
You have six.
The only way I can inspect one is if we have a rental emergency. and we adopted the International Property Maintenance Code, which we have done, and we have the ordinance. Other than that,
Yeah.
you cannot touch a mobile.
See, next day, I do all
Yeah.
that. Not for your minutes.
Yep, that's all I want.
You still do your tie down requirements, right?
What's that?
You still do your tie down requirements.
Yeah, when one's installed, all I can do is inspect foundation for the piers, the tie downs, and that the steps are to code going to both doors. That's it.
Okay.
Can't do anything inside. And even when we do a rental inspection and adopted the property maintenance code, we're limited to you know, like safety issues and structural issues. I mean, there's a small list of things that we can,
Fire safety.
you know, yeah. You can't tear anything apart and, you know, look at anything. It's just what you can see visually, basically. So it's very restricted, so there's no sense in going ahead with that year thing.
Okay, so the mini storage, we were just going to
Add
add
other subsections, is that what we're doing there?
Yeah, we're at Article 7, Section 7.17 B. The 1A. We're adding in the sentence at the end, we're adding the requirements of Article 10, Section 10.4. If the administration office or retail sales building serving a mini storage facility is present, additional off-street parking shall be provided according to the requirements of Article 10. That's the change, Section 10.4. Except these are really just corrections, housekeeping and stuff.
Yeah.
Errors. So you good with those?
Yeah, I'm good with those. The next one is accessory buildings. Where it starts off saying prefabricated storage. I wanna nix that part. Cause 90% of sheds are pre-built sheds. I wanna just kind of narrow that to shipping containers such as pods, crates, or trailers. Are not considered accessory buildings or structures.
Get the article number or section number.
It's under definitions.
Yeah.
It'd be section 21.2. Definitions.
And the part I've been kind of working with Scott Hess on accessory buildings is. And it's gonna take more than just this sentence, but basically, I'm trying to say accessory buildings shall not contain sleeping quarters. In other words, you can't have bedrooms in a garage or a shed, right?
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more complicated than that, so we're probably gonna have to end up defining sleeping quarters, and so Scott's kind of working with me on that end. So when I get that nailed down, I'll bring that back to you.
Well, we might be working on that. With the short-term rental definitions there are pretty explicit.
I ran into a situation where there's a loophole through the definitions and in this ordinance where somebody had another building on their property with their dwelling, a separate accessory building, but it had everything but a kitchen. Well, that doesn't meet the definition of a dwelling. So that means if you just don't have a kitchen, you can build 6 garages and fill it full of bunk beds if you want. If that's something we don't want to have. So somehow we've got to incorporate, you can't sleep in the garage.
Is the goal, what you said.
Right, that's the goal.
So under the accessory building, do you want just to delete this prefabricated storage thing?
Yeah, just if you just scrap those first 2 words, I think we're fine with the rest of that.
The prefabricated storage,
Yeah, get rid of prefabricated storage.
but leave shipping.
Shipping containers such as pods, crates, trailers are not considered accessory buildings or structures, yeah.
Okay.
So that says you can't have a shipping container in your backyard or a shed.
Now, on that what you just described. about the kitchen kind of a thing. You could have a grandfather clause in there.
Well, yeah, there's multiple places that have,
I mean, disclosure, we've got one of those places.
yes.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
it's
multiple
been there-
places that have two dwellings.
Yeah, it's been there over 60 years.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes, but my immediate thought was when this happened, and this was just 6 months ago. Is my God, everyone's gonna put bedrooms in their garages now, if this is the case. We tried to do away with that once before, you know, no apartments above garages. Scrap that, but now apparently there's a hole that you could find if you wanted to.
Okay.
And we gotta stop that, or it gets found out by everybody. So I'm kind of working with Scott on that part. Second page. Was clear vision area, I think I'm good with that. Okay. The decorative landscape element, I'm good with that. The next one, fence wall screen, I'd like to just not ever touch that. As long as I'm here, I do not wanna make a fence anything to do with vegetation, trees and bushes. I don't wanna have to tell people they can't plant a bush too close to another bush, or. I don't wanna make fence and bushes the same thing.
So you wanna, what do you wanna do there? I could
Just get rid of it,
the whole thing?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't wanna include any kind of trees or hedges or vegetation as part of a fence. Or a wall or a screen. I told everybody here that wants a privacy fence, they can't have one point bushes, so.
Well, to me, you're kind of mixing fence with the vegetation, right?
Well, this is gonna be a definition of a fence wall or screen, and it includes trees and hedges.
You don't think they qualify as a screen?
I don't wanna say you can't plant that, because you can't have a privacy fence, so now I can say you can't plant bushes against your property line?
We actually had a case, was it a year ago, where somebody was pretty upset because it was raining. And it obscured their view. And it went right to the water. I think we basically told them we're sorry, there's nothing that we can stop there.
Yeah.
So that's already.
I definitely do not want to be in the business of telling people what bushes and where they can plant. There's no way I'm getting into that at all. We're in northern Michigan and still make people cut pine trees down because it's blocking their view, and I don't want to get into that at all. That would be a nightmare scenario for me.
Okay.
So this, in other words, to me, that's saying, trees and hedges can be a privacy wall. And you can't have it in certain places, it means I gotta go tell people they can't plant crap, and gotta cut stuff down, I'm not doing anything. So I just get rid of that altogether. Okay. I think the high water mark is perfect. Good. And I think basically the next three, we're just kind of redefining those that are already in the definitions that are already in there. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since we did this, but I think we were just trying to clean up the wording. So you're by defining. Wait a minute, I can look at the old.
I guess the last two, park model RVs and tiny house, I guess it doesn't hurt to have those definitions in the definitions, but I don't think our ordinance doesn't speak of those anywhere else. So I don't know that we need to have them in there, but I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's general confusion between manufactured housing and modular.
Yes,
I think this kind of helps.
yeah, I agree.
Clarify that.
I agree with those the first two, yeah. Modular and manufactured. But our ordinance speaks of mobile home all over the place. So I was gonna run that by Scott too, before we had those.
Maybe that we move, go through the ordinance and change all that wording.
Right.
To reflect.
That could be a big deal, I don't know, I'll look into that one deeper.
Artificial intelligence.
In your word, make it easy. So other than that, everything. Other than what I'm kind of working on with Scott, a few things I didn't want to.
Okay, so
Put in there.
that's. Manufactured housing thing and the accessory building. Or, yeah, accessory building.
Now, on the accessory building, I know like the case in our families, it's actually classified as a second, it doesn't have a kitchen, but it's classified as a second residence. One of those things is grandfathered in, so I don't know if there's a distinction that needs to be made or stuff like that, you know?
Anytime in this, anything predates this ordinance, it doesn't pertain to.
Right, okay, but I'm just wanting for classification of somebody in those cases where they have a second res, you know, what kind, I guess, the definition of a residence, you know, for, you know, things like that.
Well, see, that's part of the problem. In my mind, if you're sleeping and living somewhere, that's a dwelling, but we add in the way our definition says, eating, sleeping, and living. So you have to be doing all three of the capability of doing all three of those. Maybe if it's as simple as eating, sleeping, or eating, you know, if you're doing any of those things. Living, no, I think you could have a man cave in your garage, have a bathroom in there, that's not a second dwelling. Only thing that's what I need to, somehow we gotta figure out how to stress the sleeping. That's the issue, that's what everyone wants is actual sleeping space. And that's what, you know, people start doing it in their garages and their attics and sheds, it's not safe and it's just a negative way to have it, so. That's the part that I'm working with Scott to try to determine, but anything that exists out there, this won't affect.
Okay, all right, any other questions for Jason? These are just, like I say, changes and things that we'll try and,
Fit into the next public hearing meeting.
yeah, get the process, you know, go through the process,
Yeah.
make the amendments.
Right, so the way ahead right now is you're gonna take these, talk with Scott's and we'll come back with us. Here's the proposed wording, and then do a public hearing.
Yeah.
For that.
No hurry, but
Yeah.
even if we can wait to the next public hearing and throw this on with them, is a good idea. But
I don't know, but in that case, technically, we gotta schedule a public hearing. That's a separate public hearing.
yeah, we can do it the same.
And so what I'm getting at there is you don't need to wait for another public hearing, because basically that public hearing is gonna be a separate thing unto itself.
Well, it wouldn't have to be in the.
We can do it.
twice. What I'm getting at. You can put multiple public hearings in the same day, you know, and they're running different ads, different times.
Okay, for different,
Like we've had multiple public hearings. In the same night, we just run one ad.
okay. That's the only distinction between, because I mean,
In other words, it's not that important that we just hurry up and get a public hearing for no other reason than to do this. If
I would-
if we have one maybe coming up in the next 5-6 months, we'll do, tack it onto that one and.
okay, because
Because I
I
get
didn't,
time to make sure we get it worked out.
that's what I was driving at, that we didn't, you may not have one for a while. If
Right.
You needed to go, we could do that separately.
We've been working on this for a year anyway, so.
November 10th,
Yeah.
23.
Numbers, earth shattering.
Is when I typed this.
Did you want to say about this road carry? It was finally turned in correctly, they already know it. On that lane,
I don't think it has anything to do with the planning commission, does it?
was it a lane split or was it just?
Yes, it was a lane.
Okay. Okay. So I,
Glenn? Okay, you're good.
Yeah, I will, I need to do a better job of when we're amending the orders to make sure Scott sees it before we finalize it and approve it and change it. I think the last few times I didn't even mention things to him, and so that's why I've just gotten him a little bit more involved, so he gets to find, okay, I'm good with that before we public hear it and change it.
Yeah, it's probably good practice. Yeah. Some of these things, some are just. I mean,
Some are
just a
pretty
word or-
innocuous, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
He needs to be aware when we're changing something that he's, doesn't go, wait a minute, you can't do that, you know? So I'll be better at that.
Okay,
That's all I had.
And you definitely want us to work on a fencing ordinance that includes vegetation.
Yes. Did you understand my stress on it?
anybody need a break? Before we. Dive into the. Okay. Interesting enough is. If you look at the definitions in these short-term rentals.
Yeah.
And look at them ours.
They have definitions for bedrooms and dwellings and stuff like that.
It's kind of, it might answer some of your stuff. Everybody get a chance to look over any of the sample ordinances? No, I know you did.
Yeah.
I will. Which one did you look at?
Well, I looked at the one from Acme and the one from Markey Township, which I know is the same as the one from Roscommon.
Okay,
And I also know that particular, short-term rental ordinance is what they're also looking at line.
right.
And I, my opinion, if we're getting to that, is I think it would be a good idea if we used it, very similarly to what the other townships in Roscommon have. I think that would be. And I found that there were a lot of things that were handled in both places very similarly, so. It seems like they each cover the same basis. Which I guess is probably what's supported of that.
The two local ones.
Well, the one from Acme also. I mean, they're this similar in the way that they're worded, but they're similar in the
Intent.
sections, yeah.
Yeah, the Acme one went into. Further detail, they have, more classifications, rentals, tourist. They differentiated a lot more.
Actually, I thought they had both of them, that the Markey one did a lot more in some areas than the Acme.
They did.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised, but as I started reading the Acme one, I thought they had, because the very first couple of pages go into like some long lists of definitions and things. But the Markey one, they deal with the same stuff too. So I thought they did a pretty good job, actually. I think our question, as we start, is does the Roscommon, actually, does the Harris Township Board want to go ahead with this and will they enforce it? And if the answer is yes, I guess what we want to do is start putting something together. If the answer is no, I don't think we want to put the time and effort, but there's a lot involved with this.
I spoke with Brian, it's been several months now, in fact, it might have been. Spring, and asked him that exact question. Do you want to pursue this? And how far do you want to go and that sort of thing, and he indicated he wanted to. He said, I don't need something perfect, but I want something that gives me the gist of what it would be. And he said. His main concern too, because he was, the police at the time, is the transition period that they. It's been a while, yeah. And, about enforcement. Or the. Enforcement. So.
They have to decide whether they want to go to court. Sorry, and if the answer is yes, then I think we're good. I can also say that talking to the clerks in Markey and in Roscommon, they're pretty happy. They think it's worked smoothly. They don't think that it's had a lot of hiccups. consistency things, and I do believe, although. But I do believe that if we go about doing this and set it in motion, then we stop the potential of people. That happens, or that are already doing short-term rentals, saying they're exempt, because when they started, they. They started renting it before the ordinance. It's kind of like what Jason mentioned about kind of grandfather things. And I know that there's some other purposes, those things are part of the problem. Is if somebody's already doing something before you make an ordinance, there's kind of a slippery exemption there.
With this ordinance, this wouldn't be part of the zoning ordinance, so right, it would be its own standalone ordinance. Police power ordinance.
Yeah, I think just like
Yeah. So if that's the case. There's no grandfathering on a police power ordinance.
Okay.
Well, that's only zoning. So if it's its own ordinance, it affects everything, even if it's still already been going.
I think I agree with you because I look at that, it's like, if I'm used to drive 90 miles an hour. If there's no speed limit, but then all of a sudden, like, they put the sign, there's speed limit. So, but I'm used to driving 90 miles an hour. Right, it's a good example.
I know if getting into the enforcement stuff that Brian mentioned in spring. He said, yeah, that was concern is, how are you gonna enforce the stuff? And he mentioned the court stuff, and one of his comments was. Thing you have to consider is also if the stuff does go to court in those cases where you're trying to enforce it. Is do you have the budget stuff mapped out? And funds set aside to be able to handle that, because you get one case that, well, look down your budget, depending on the situation. So that was the thing, so he was very aware that there are several issues about doing it and enforcing it. It's just not about going there, writing up a check and saying you got a fine. It's to be able to act and follow through on top of that, even with the actual funds to go to the court or to issue a ban, whatever it is. And that's a big, that is a big thing.
How are these other townships enforcing? In-house, or they have a separate company that handles it all for them, or?
Was it hard for them, how they hold it up?
The feedback that I got was that there wasn't a lot of resistance. Okay with the definitions and all the various aspects of it, and wasn't really a lot of resistance. It's just a matter of putting together something that was fair and that the community felt.
The hardest part about an ordinance, it's easy to come up with an ordinance, you can look at another one and go, oh yeah, that works, it's not worth changing, boom. It's the enforcement part of it. And I see this as a nightmare.
It's like any concept of.
Yes. If I have to be involved in it, it would, but I don't know how I could do that.
I know that the
It's
community,
weekend complaints and.
I know the community talks about it a lot. And there are a lot of problematic areas.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's probably some of the community where. Hear stories about.
Oh, I'm sure anybody who has one next to them wants this order, I guarantee it. Yeah, but
Like it's good. Even if you got an entity, the fact that law enforcement, gets involved in that kind of stuff, just. You have 7 people up there. Right now, that are handling stuff, and it varies, one big event or squabble. Can overtake everything else, so the thing is, if you got several. Party things or other things that's strictly tied to the ordinance, it isn't. It's gonna be issued just with, they can't handle everything right now with the sheer number, especially like you get in summertime with all the different events going on. And the reality is the shift work of people, how many people are actually working on call that, one time a lot of times during the day, you got like maybe 2 people or weekends too, at a certain period and. One event will, you have an accident out in 75 and that takes people away and. Somebody else has some other.
Yeah, in Lyon Township and Markey Township, they don't even have their own police departments.
Yeah.
That's how in the world are you enforcing anything on a weekend?
The enforcement aspect of it is more about going to court than sending these
Well, who's gonna do all the inspections, who's gonna, taking all the paperwork, and sending all the letters, and taking all the complaints? That's the enforcement part of it. With going to court,
That's
it might never happen.
It's kind of like the sewers up on township.
Septic?
Septic, yeah, and so they hired a bunch of people to handle inspections.
Right.
So. Might need to think about having a,
Well, there's companies that will do that for you.
right,
They
okay,
do all the paperwork. Collect the fees. Take complaints, handle that for you. I mean, I'm a one-man building and zoning department as it is. There's no way I can take on 60 short-term rentals. Right, you enforce that.
I wouldn't think it would fall in your area, actually.
Well, I'm hoping it's, but
I don't think we'll either.
I ended up doing all the long-term rental inspections. So
Inspection would fully.
don't wanna be recommended.
there.
But that's the point, like the long-term stuff, there is an entity that does that. So I would think you would either tag onto that, augment that force if you did it. Or you create a separate one. I think you probably just have one, and, maybe augment stuff, okay, you handle all rentals, and here's a. Maybe a couple key people that do the long term and maybe 2 people or do the short term, but even when you do all that stuff. Even if they do all that work ahead of time, they're it's a row where they gotta get stuff to you and you gotta still review it. Yeah. Even as one person, so they could dwindle down some of the work and tee up stuff for you. But still, just to reinforce and go through that and spend the time on that on top of the other stuff. And they say, yeah, they're all doing it, but you still have, in some mentions,
There's an awful lot that goes into it. Just like like you said, the septic ordinance, I'm all for a septic ordinance, I think we need. But I don't know how Lyon Township is gonna handle it. Until it gets to the actual point where you gotta enforce all that, track all that. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, like you just said, there's a
Unless you hire. a company
administrative
that's what
part
they
to the
do.
whole thing and.
It's not just something that we can just take on as a township.
Right, you
No,
could have a plan for it, yeah.
Feasibility study.
Can we before we start working on the ordinance, it would look at the option. How can we enforce it? And obviously, the enforcement is the most challenging part. Maybe we go back with neighboring townships and see how we ask them, how they can enforce it.
That's kind of what my idea was, is that I think we come up with a bunch of questions that we need specific answers for. That's not how somebody else is doing. And I'd be happy to go talk to them, right, get the answers to the questions. They seem relatively friendly about talking, sharing how it's working.
I still do budgeting.
How they do that, what they do administrative, what their thoughts are about enforcement, their views are. How does this work in regard to administration?
That I think is probably the best thing we could do here. I mean, forget about the verbiage of the actual ordinance itself, to the point. The real thing is that,
How does it?
and teeing up those questions to think about, and then, because when you do that, then other people look at that, and they'll be like, oh, I didn't think of that, and if you're doing this, well, geez, why don't you apply that here, and then it'll generate a bunch of, things on top of that, and that's the most important thing, so you can go to somebody, it's okay, you do it, here's all the stuff involved, and then take it to the next step, okay, what's kind of the estimated manpower to do those things, or, how many do you expect?
Well, for all of those things are just questions.
Yeah,
It's a matter of finding the answers to the question. We just need to come up with the question.
right,
I would
yeah,
agree with
yes,
And then look at the answers and know
and that's something we could provide, to the township board sooner than later, but we did. If we did anything first, I would say that's probably the number one.
Yeah, because they might get involved with it too. They'd have to-
Right, because they can see that and you go,
Yeah, we could get back to them with that and then see if they want to pursue it further.
yeah, they did, that. And it's, they still made.
Yeah.
It's,
I think it will be the
What do you think, Jerry?
best approach.
You're on the board.
I quit. Well, I agree the board should take a look at it, but talking about the septic, I know at one time they talked about that the health department should handle the inspections. I don't know how far that went. But at least they have a countywide, health people, that take the burden off you, and that's their job anyway, is, you know, health and water and septic. I don't know if that's gonna fly, but that was one suggestion.
Yeah, the pushback on that was they didn't have enough personnel, at least right now.
Yeah, but they talked about maybe hiring somebody to do that.
I think in the private sector, you could easily find somebody qualified that has the credentials to do that and develop their own program. I think it'd be the least expensive way as opposed to
You
involving
know,
a state department.
Right, but then again, still, it's gonna cost money, and what's that cost gonna be?
or
But even
in-house.
on this,
Yeah, the building inspector might want to do the septic.
You
inspection.
know, you know, he told me he did, but
I need no more things to do. But the septic's also, you know, that's something that affects everybody.
But I
And
know
sure.
the Crawford County Health Department came out and said there's absolutely no way we could ever function in trying to do a county-wide septic. They don't have the money for it, there's no way they can do it. It's impossible, it said, absolutely impossible. I agree, the county should. It should be at a county level, but
Oh, it should be a state.
I don't think they can do
yeah,
it,
that's true. That's, you come from Lansing, really.
yeah.
there were,
Back on the short term,
The state is working on it, aren't they?
yeah, but you've been working for 20 years.
Right.
Yeah, it never gets any traction.
No.
It's a lot of talking, no dancing.
back on your short term, I don't know if you ever saw this, this company. That would do a short term, and they said, we have 144 short term rentals in Gary Township.
Which was that? Airbnb.
Back in January, was that in the show. And the company will say, here's what we have to offer.
Oh, that would manage it?
Yeah.
I got you.
I know that when you compare it to the short-term rentals, the septic is every building, every residence thing is gonna be affected one way or the other, so you're gonna have a lot more things. With the short-term rental stuff, you're talking a fraction of the people as far as when it comes to enforcement and all that, so that enforcement and every tracking of the septic is gonna be significantly a lot more short-term.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure the private sector is still in the points, you know. I mean, somebody's doing home inspections could easily beef up and be a rental inspector. But did you just look at the definitions in our book versus? Just look to in our zoning. Would the definitions in this police ordinance supersede our ordinance at the, in the zoning?
It wouldn't have anything to do with zoning, you know, that would be its own ordinance.
Okay, so their definition doesn't have to match up.
No.
Okay,
No,
well, that makes it a lot easier then. That's, was my question, 'cause
no, this.
we got 4 different
This book basically just,
definitions of dwelling.
you know, only pertains to the zoning ordinance. If that's a standalone ordinance, that's the ordinance that would pertain to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just clear that up.
Yeah.
Cause I was just seeing all kinds of comments.
Oh, no question, yeah.
Okay, well, good. Well, it doesn't apply to. Well, what do you wanna do then? You wanna, two or three of us, or all of us come up with questions and. In the aspect of administration and budget and all that sort of thing, that's.
I think we can probably come up with a bunch of questions right here.
Well, what's number 1?
Guess it should be talking about enforcement and some zoning.
The first thing is, how do you find where they're at? How are you doing that? You know, are you seeking them out, or are you just waiting for complaints, or? Obviously, you know, there's a handful you might know about, but there might be 10 or 12, but there's 100 of them in the township, you know. And then, you know, who's sending the letters and taking the money and,
Enforcement.
yeah. From administrative to inspections to fines to,
Pretty hard.
Yeah, consequences.
what do you do on weekends? There's, you know, when you get money from the neighbor about something going on or rental, I bet you're next door to you, who do you call? Are you just calling the police or?
Yeah, as a neighbor, I know that the short-term rental, because of the consistent with, I get once a week, I get a new neighbor.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty good at this question stuff, Jason, you better be prepared.
Well, these are all the things that I would have to know how to do if I got a report, you know? And it's like when we were trying to do our first septic ordinance. Worked on it for a year. And I was at all the meetings and I just said, how am I supposed to enforce this? I don't understand how I'm gonna enforce this. And they never could answer it. Thank God it never happened because.
How does the long-term rental work right now with the enforcement? My understanding, there's some inspectors identified, I don't know if it's part of the township, part of the police department.
So I do all the inspection. And I send all the letters and. Cause I'll chase down the renter. Try and set up a time to get in to see him.
Isn't there, I thought there was some additional people that worked, or was that just for like the working committee?
There's me.
Period, but I know for the camping ordinance is an example of stuff that the township used to do it or take care of it. So the police department, of course, says, okay, we got issues with the stuff, so here's what we're gonna do.
Well, the
Yes.
camping ordinance is a police order.
Right,
We
so,
usually just do the permitting.
right, used to, right now, you
But
gotta.
then we said, this doesn't make sense. It's your ordinance, you guys should be doing that, so they're doing it.
Right, so,
Now, the police department is part of the rental ordinance. It is a police power. So if, say, I go and do an inspection and I make corrections, and I say, make these 30 days. If they don't do it by in that 30 days, then the police has to find them, take it to court or do whatever. That they do the finding part of it.
yeah, 'cause they do it for the light stuff, they go around periodically and identify things, and then.
I'll be the one for part of it.
Say probably 20.
A lot different than 144. But if you actually let the police department, you tell the police department what's going on, you do the paperwork and get to the.
Yeah, if it gets to a point where they're not fixing anything, they're not returning a letter saying, look, you need to register this runner, well, they don't do that, then it would go. That hasn't really happened.
That's good.
And the other example I was trying to think of, the police department does is the road ends for the docks. So that was exactly, again, that's just a small number, but they said. I remember they took it over a while back, there was all kinds of problems, so it's like, okay, the chief said, here's how we're gonna end it. All dock permits go, you know, if we have to do enforcement stuff and all that, all permits go through me, and if there's any problems. You're not getting issued the permit.
People get the permits from a uniformed officer. They tell them what's required, and they tell them what happens if they don't follow the requirements. How big they falls.
And so they did that and they took it over. So
Well,
that's,
that's always been.
yeah, I know, but that's an example of something where you get, where the department's involved in there with an ordinance. And it's okay, we've taken over, so that's a handful, you know, how many road end docks are there? I don't know. But, you know, it's, you know, less than 100. You know, probably, I don't know. But, so you had that, and then you had the camping stuff, and then you had the light stuff, the way they handle stuff too, and then you had the long term. And then the short term will be a big jump into that, and then if you did the That they probably would not be involved in.
Yes, so let's try to focus on more questions to ask other people who are running it.
Should there be a limit on how many rentals?
I would think that's,
And I think they do that.
yeah, most do. We have at least 144 already.
According to the survey.
I think, a lot of them are, that I've seen, 50, 75 limits.
Yeah.
We're way over that, so.
Oh, yeah. In some cases, they call them two different things, vacation homes or rental or tourism. So they had an amount for each of them that was gonna be about.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any distinction between, you got the, what, VRBOs and the B&Bs.
I think that was the first question.
Yeah.
How we can identify, because, yeah, there's a VRBO here. VRBO. that's
Well,
the most-
yeah, identifying is one thing, but then if people are advertising and do that, is there anything that we require of those? I don't know that if there's anything special, but you've got independent people doing things.
We have a long-term rental ordinance right now, and that is 30 days or more that you're renting at a time. So pretty simply, less than 30 days. It's short-term rental, doesn't matter who's doing it, who's renting it, if you're renting less than 30 days, it fits in that.
I just wondered, I don't know the answer, and if you have those things involved, the VRBO or DVROs, whatever, and the VRBOs.
VRBO, vacation rentals.
Yeah, okay. And so if you have a couple of those like professional organizations going on, they have stuff, I don't know if there's, like, if you do limits here, is there gonna be a limit how many things they can? Say you had 100 rentals. And say you had, you know, maybe, is there any distinct, I just wondered, like, would you make a distinction between, you can have, 25 private people, or, I mean, they're all renting their places, they're just advertising those.
I tell you something I have run into is that you're better off having VRBO or one of these companies be involved.
Right, they got restrictions now because
If they get complaints, they won't quit, letting you be part of that, so.
Yeah, they're getting ruled a lot better.
Yes, they're at least kick you out of the VRBO, their clients, say go run it yourself kind of thing, so.
But they don't wanna.
I don't want neither, it's right,
I think they got one already.
I think it's beneficial to have.
I totally agree. If they're rating the renters too.
Right.
Here's what I got. How to find the rentals that exist currently, they doing that. Administration, is it in-house or they subcontract it, something. Inspections, who's doing the initial inspection, people sign up. And then who's doing an ongoing, registrations, who's handling all that, that's part of the administration thing, kind of specific. And then a limit of license. What kind of budget they? Are we looking for the fees to pay for this? Right. Fee challenge. Then their enforcement procedure, they're. Yeah, they can turn it over to the police, or they probably have we're gonna call the owner, because they want to know the owner, you have to be registered. You have to have available contact 24 hours. So, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So they're gonna start there, I'm sure, and then it must have steps. If you don't do this, then we're gonna raise the bar, and finally the police probably get involved.
Typically, when
Any other, you guys got something I don't?
I don't think sounds getting forced, so let's say.
Well, the procedure is what I'm asking, I don't know.
If you don't have a police department, typically you have an enforcement officer.
Ordinance enforcement.
I'm fortunate I have a police department.
Somebody that's been authorized.
Otherwise, I'd be writing tickets and, that kind of thing, and that's who would have to do that. It's the enforcement officer.
But I mean, like, it's not that, if there's a pub, there's a police driving by. And there are 6 people in the house or next to the house. So the expectation is not that. He will step out of the car, go on and check on the occupant.
Not gonna happen.
Right. So it means that someone has to call and that someone would have to be one of the neighbors.
Probably, yeah. In most situations, I would assume so. Because they're creating some kind of disturbance that they feel is not wanted. I mean, a big part of this is educating the whole public. So you know what is allowed and what isn't, and we don't get a bunch of false alarms, I guess. Yeah.
But. My concern was with some of those issues is that. A lot of things go both ways. It doesn't matter if people are renters or not. The bottom line is if there's noise complaints. You know, if the noise complaint, it doesn't matter there. In an example of. You know, did they have 15 people in the house or 2, but to me. That stuff doesn't matter whether you're a rental or not, it doesn't matter what's the net. Effect on the people next door, you get 100 people there, be quiet as anything and not disturbing anything, and you get 3 people there that are totally out of control. And so some of those, like when you make these things, and that's where I saw some of the other ordinance things, they had stuff down there that. Geez, we don't, you know, it'd be inconsistent with the current people. Living in the places next door. And I don't think there should be a distinction between there, if there's issues like, you know, numbers of people or numbers of cars or noise or that stuff, you have a default stuff that already exists.
Well, I think the difference is. If I'm having a party and somebody doesn't like it, they can come and talk to me. When you're running a place. I'm having a party, you come to talk to me and I say, well, you know, I don't own this place, you know. So there's gonna be. You want a point of contact, and by registering them. Now you get somebody to call and say, hey, your renter's out of control and
And each of these,
you gotta deal with it.
each of these do what they wanna call local agent, meaning you have to have someone responsible. And if it's not someone who's in the house, there has to be someone responsible. And in that case, it said like within 60 minutes, they could arrive if they had to, things like that.
You can't get people, I mean, what happens if I got somebody, a relative or something, you know, stay in my place? You know, what's the difference between, what you're calling or. You're thinking about, yeah, we need to know who to talk to, but if they're going there because there's a noise complaint. You know, that person that's making the noise is responsible for him. You know, doing that, so it's like if they come to my house and I'm making noise, they're gonna.
No,
Yeah.
they're the responsible party.
Right.
Yeah,
If they come
but
into
if-
the house-
for me,
This is to find the responsible party.
Yeah, but I mean, if somebody's renting the house and they're making noise and people are coming, to me, it's not the owners. Right, there's an ultimate responsibility there, but. Yeah,
Both owners.
but the person there that's doing stuff is also.
Right.
Yeah, responsible.
He's a primary responsible party, and then the owner would be the secondary responsible party.
Actually, I think it's the other way. It's the owner is responsible. The owner has to then be involved.
I mean, the owner is renting in good faith. And he can outline
Right.
all the good stuff, like all rules and regulations. But then if the renter is not following. So the same thing, you know, if you rent a car and you rent it.
Well, but in this case, there's a responsible party. And if it's not the owner, it's a local agent, it's something different. So the local agent is the person that would have to, I guess, see the.
Well, they ultimately, they have to respond to that. Initially, yeah, the police are gonna shut it all down. But it's gonna go back to
The owner is gonna be, or
The
the
owner.
local agent
Yeah.
is responsible for not. Issues where the police will be responsible, whether it's a rental or not, the police will be called for those issues, but if you have a limit of 8 people and there's 15 people and the neighbor calls and goes, hey, there's 15 people sleeping here, the cops aren't gonna hear. So then the local agent needs to be called and get there and go, look, you can't have more than 8 people here. Or you can't have more than 4 vehicles in the yard, or, you know, these things that the cops not gonna care about. That's where you need that local agent to determine and enforce the ordinance. It's not a law breaking, but an ordinance breaking.
So if you have 4 parking spots in front of your house. And then you have, I don't know, 3, 4 cars sticking out. I mean, there's no, not, I know they're not moving, but, and there's 3 cars like walking the roadway. Cops wouldn't care.
I mean, if they're all on their property, yeah, so
In a lot of these things, incidentally,
if they're blocking the road, yes.
Yeah, true.
I think in some of the ordinance things, there actually is like limited number of cars
right,
and people and houses and stuff. But none of that's been enforced. And again, say all that stuff varies. You know, I mean, if you just look this past weekend, in July 4th weekend, there's like. In our area down there, every house, or 90% of houses have 6, 7 cars. Sure. You know, at a minimum. Plus boats, plus other things, and some of that stuff is just like, you know, 1 weekend or 2, or.
Right.
You know, it's not all the time, if you
And that's
enforce
the
it.
distinction, it's not happening every week, it's the same house.
Thing is, like, we're living in the wrist slapping. Society. And like, so now we are, want to get away from slapping the wrist. Want to go, and start enforcing things.
Well, that's my concern on some of these, that all of a sudden you start changing. You know, that and it gets more restrictive. And it's one of those things that,
How far where they go.
yeah, and I think it's a slippery slope in a way, and I personally don't like all these different
say
things.
that about
but-
everything.
Yeah,
Okay, so what we're talking about is, should we try to do something that protects citizens and property rights of local owners and things of that nature? And if there's a way to do it, we can look at it, decide whether we wanna try it too, like some other people. You know, so, but all the individual instances, they're everywhere. I mean, the question is, how do you police it? And how do you take care of it? You find those things out as you go. But there's, like, some of these things talk about it. If people are renting without a permit, there's a violation, fine $500, a second is $750. There are 5 violations of other violation, they detail this stuff right out of here. And some of these people say that these things are established by the board of their township. And so all those things are just determined to plug into the spots. And it's a matter of, I think most of the enforcement happens initially, and then people start to understand how it works and what they can do to stay involved. Or if there's a penalty for that, and that's the question of enforcement. In my mind, there's a lot to do with going to court. If somebody's not going to do this, if you fine them $750 for something, they don't pay the fine, you go after them. And the answer is yes, you have the rules to do that. After a while, I don't think you do those things. You get some, but not maybe as many as sufficient. So then, then it becomes, what have you done in set in motion to protect the residents, just like every other thing we have in our books?
How many complaints you guys get, because the police, if you guys know. Rentals, short-term rentals.
I don't think it's a lot. I can't speak for the police department, and I know they had some issues with certain few. We had one situation where down and on the lakefront, there was a 20-foot easement. Another lakefront house, and this 20-foot easement, there was 2 houses off the lake that had this 20-foot easement. And they started renting both those houses with nothing but a 20-foot easement.
My neighbor.
And it was, the guy was tearing his hair out. He ended up buying both those houses, tearing them all down, tore everything down.
oh, you did, okay.
Bought both.
Because that came before the ZBA and stuff on there, he wanted to put a fence.
Yeah, because people started.
Yeah, well-
Last year, people started, because the kid decides, like, hey, you guys can use, easement and just, all.
Yeah, they would go down and, they had a fire pit down there, and a big 20-foot hookah or whatever.
I'm sure they get noise complaints here and there, but I don't think it's outrageous.
I don't either, I asked Brian that,
he said,
Yeah, it's here and there,
hit or miss,
rowdy bunches once in a while.
weekends are bad.
I mean, I see now with, not necessarily with the rentals, it's just, you know, with the locals. Or the people that, there's been a changeover every 20 years or so, and our neighborhood has been a big, huge 80% turnover. In the last 10 years, and with that,
My corner.
I mean, from your place all the way down to Old Point Comfort, there's been over 8%. 65 houses.
The Lakewood. So in the last 10 years, or last 15 years, 2 houses were sold.
Yeah, I'm saying, if you go back,
Last year alone, 3 houses.
yeah, in 10 years from that area from, it's right across from the storage units where the old miniature golf course was. Down Magnolia, down those 2 roads, Cardinal and Pocahontas, and up across the street, there's like 65 places, not counting the 25, 26 in the island. And at those 65, there's been, I think, like 55 sales or so, a couple of them a couple times, just in the last 10 years. And they've changed, and I call it, they've gone from sub-users, meaning people that are a lot of 80s, 90s and stuff that were single, not using the place that much, going away in the winter, to what I call super users, our family's one of them. That they come in, renovate the place and buy younger, and then it's, you know, everybody and the brother coming up, so the usage is significantly more, and that happens every month, but you're still getting an overall expansion. And stuff, but I'd say with that, all of a sudden now you've got cars, you got the boat yard, there's, I mean, vehicles are coming down that road, to the road end. You know, every 20 seconds, all after, you know, all afternoon and holiday, and some of the weekends sometimes too. And that used to be cold, I mean, there was nothing. You know. 20 years ago, and
My understanding is there's a lot of difficulty. Away from the lake, but we off-road vehicles and people renting houses, and then they show up with a lot of.
yeah, and but that's again, there's been a turn, if you look at the progression, the docks have gone way out. The boats have expanded, the number of boats, instead of one boat there, you got a, you know, maybe a ski boat, a pontoon boat, a couple wave riders, a sailboat, rowboat, kayaks. And it used to be 1 or 2 golf carts, now it's the golf carts at the old thing, and then everybody's got it side by sides. And the vehicles on top of that, it's just not the, you know, the 2 side by sides, it's a big 4 or 5, you know, ones that are, you know, cost more than cars there, and then. So all that stuff's been expanding, and that's with a lot of people that live there periodically, I mean, almost everybody has one now in our neighborhood. You know, so you got the boats, the cars, and the trailers, and the campers, you know, when people live there, Pullman, or I mean, not renting out, now there's 4 or so.
So we know there's a some.
So it just,
In summary, anybody else got other questions that they want to share?
I don't know if I missed anything, but on these questions, should we ask them what they charge for a permit? Short
Yeah.
term?
Yeah, we should, and that's one of the things that I wrote up minutes.
Yeah, most of the ordinances state in there what it costs.
But a license fee in some cases.
Yeah, there's all no license.
yeah, and one of the. I saw with the condos and stuff that I was involved with or lived in and years ago down in Ann Arbor and. You know, around the late 90s, early 2000s, there was kind of a change where all of a sudden. Same thing where anybody rented stuff, they actually had to go to the city of Ann Arbor. And for the inspections and all that, and other cities started doing that, so in that process, there may be some things we could find out. Just on their general policies, in addition, like with the Roscommon or the local townships here. Just what are some of the big cities done, because they've addressed a lot of these questions. And a lot of that's dealing with long-term stuff, it's not like the short-term. Thank you.
Well. You want to go?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that, I
Go with you?
yeah.
We'll go to like Roscommon or even Martin. Just make an appointment with them, tell them what we want. See what they got to say. Okay, anybody else want to go?
That's fine. So. Get it wrapped up, essentially questions then, or A list of talk is a general talking point, and then come back from them and kind of expand the list, and then kind of say, here's stuff we can submit to the board.
Right.
And answer some, not just, here's the, not only just the questions, here's examples how these other communities address those.
But you want to send me your questions or tell me now, I'll write them down and compile a sheet.
Why don't we just say if there are other questions, like in the next 4 or 5 days to send them to them? And then after 4 or 5 days, it will have a list of all of the questions we have. Okay, I've already got 11 here.
So I'll give you to you by next Friday.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just put it up before next meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, with, get involved with, they're gonna go. I'll check, but it's unavailable.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have contact. If your schedule is like that.
Yeah, just, I mean, just work it out among yourself. But no, when you decide to go.
Yeah, so far. I got, how do you find the short-term rental units? Who sends letters to short-term rental units, giving them whatever you want to give? Who sets the licensing fees, sets the penalties, keeps the records? You need additional personnel in order to accommodate those things. We answer some complaints initially. Is there a limit on how many rentals that would involve your township? Are there more than one category of short-term rental? Are there initial inspections, and if so, how is that done? And is there a yearly period? And what might that be? Like, for instance, I think you said it's like January 1st and December 31st. So that, and I think one of them said like that, October 1st, to October 30th, so it's application for the for additional fees for the next year, January.
Okay, we're pretty aligned.
Yeah, okay.
But take a look at their ordinances. There's one here that's. Police took off, so it doesn't matter, but
Waste is there also, big thing.
yeah,
What is waste?
Yeah, yeah, you can recycle. Yeah, that kind of stuff, yeah, that's good.
they got one here that says. All dwellings and dwelling units available for short-term rental are subject to the requirements of all township ordinances. Including without limitation, the township zoning. In the event of a conflict between this ordinance and any other ordinance, the more restrictive regulation will apply. Penalties, yeah.
One clause, the whole waste of recyclable must be stored in approved containers with a tight fitting lids. Containers must be kept out of public view except on designated collection days. And with more judge, someone can report on the rental property. Garbage containers,
I think you can write it in, you know, exactly how you enforce it, depends on how you see that's a problem.
But they're
But yeah,
having the trash, and then you don't necessarily need to have the cans, you can have. When they gave the cans out there. Exactly. Yeah, when they gave the cans out, it wasn't a requirement that everybody had that, you could call together by that, so. That's regardless of what's.
I mean, like right now, like, you know, so, okay, when that's worse, that all the trash has to be in the.
That's an example of something that I was alluding to, that you would. I think it should be consistent with the current stuff. With everybody, regardless of whether you're renting or not, and if that stuff exists on the books, then you enforce that.
like how does any other.
Oh, this is that.
Basis, I just.
What are the rules to cover any house?
Yeah.
And those would be consistent.
No, so that's what we're gonna do.
Eventually. Like I said,
I mean,
there's one in the can.
No,
You live there?
That's.
You live there? I might, there's a days like that once a year. I might have a plan.
I would actually try it.
Where, like, you know, you have a rental, it's nice, it's every week or every other week, right? So, we're paying exactly the same amount of taxes. So, well, and, so it means that we're paying the same amount of, fees for garbage collection.
But I mean, you could have people that are up all the time that are always. Some of that varies, because there's some people that use their place an awful lot and as much and more so than everybody renting.
No, I'm talking about it when you live there.
Yeah.
Even when you live there, you don't have, like, you know, you don't have trash days here.
Oh, okay.
You don't do your trash, 150% every time, every week.
Just looking.
Do you?
I don't.
I would tell you, there are some people who do. We joke about it, in fact, there's somebody on our street, that they, they're 10 minutes, and they have like 3 times the amount of trash. It's accumulated there within 10 minutes.
And that's just good, you know, they come in, they put their boxes out, instead of recycling, they don't break them down, or, I mean, there's things like that, you know, they come up and, you know, move it in and move it out.
Oh, yeah.
I personally think, you know, we should not compare, so people that are local. They should be, they should be the exception. And the rentals, I mean, they should, function within the regulation.
But the thing is, when you get into summertime stuff, there's a lot of people that, not, I don't know what the percentage is, but there's people that
Yeah, to get more.
are, you know, they come off
You know, look.
like the weekends or there a lot during the summer, that they have excessive stuff. That aren't renting, but they're that way, and then, you know, from October or September on. They're not.
Well, there's always an individual source.
So that's why you just.
Yeah, I mean, the example you're bringing up, I mean, they're different, very rare.
But I mean,
But I mean, with the short-term rental, I mean, I see it's consistent regardless, you know, like, what property. Like the one that Jason was talking about earlier. I mean, they're trash, like whatever they're, whenever
We never
they're.
see what happens here.
yeah, but I can say that with the ones on the streets that have popped up in the last couple of years in our neighborhood. Or, I mean, close where I am down from you, there, I haven't seen that
You saw
problem
that out there.
every week. And it varies on who they're renting to. And
Didn't work out.
But I know like a lot of the road ends have that, my uncle had that problem where. Anybody that's on a road end or has it easy. You know, people are always coming down, and, you know, he's gonna look out there, people are in his dock and. All the time, he says, forget this, I'm gonna move. Got another place.
There was one guy who they had a big rental place near his house, and one day he woke up and his car wasn't there. And it was down at the rental place, because they had so many people in the rental place that people didn't have a place to sleep. So they wanted his car, and they took his car down to the house they were renting, and they slept in his car.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, every back, what?
A few years back,
No, that was like last year, I think.
yeah, I remember something like that, very
Crazy stories. Going on all over too, it's not just right here.
But I guess that's one of the questions, you know, on there, do you have some stuff that's more restrictive for the rentals to try and. You know, prevent or.
I mean, that's why I want it more restrictive. I'm okay with it. I'm not against the short-term rentals, as long as there's a consistency. And we're, you know, we're all functions, you know, the people that live there 100%, that are, you know, they're coming here just for the weekend or during summer. And renters, as long as we coexist within the same framework and we follow the same rules. I don't see any issues.
What do you consider short term? 2 days, 7 days, 10 days?
I would say like, you know, at least 2 days that will kind of restrict from. With the crazy people just come over for a day.
I wish Jason was here. I wonder what determined the long term.
He said over 30 days.
Over 30
No, it's
days.
30 days or more, right?
His thought was, so anything under 30 days. would be
Sure,
free.
Yeah, that's.
I would say like also for short-term rentals, should be also a restriction on how many people would, could stay in one bedroom. So if it's a one bedroom, 2 people. The house has 3 bedrooms, which is the.
And there are those kind of things with those other,
Right.
parties.
They have,
No, projection, but I think like these are all like details that will go into the ordinance.
Big family.
First, we need to figure out, the answers, to this global question. You know, are we going to move forward?
Well, we'll get the questions answered and.
Nothing is impossible.
Except that one county in their septic ordinance. Is it Crawford?
Grayling, yeah. they're probably clear.
They're just waiting for the state to tell them what to do.
Might be a long way.
Did anybody move to adjourn yet?
I just heard one.
I'll
could
send
I just add a couple things real quick?
Oh, yeah, you both get open line.
Yeah, thanks. A couple of things coming up. Next Monday is the Act Now picnic over at the marina. It's open to the public. Food, beverages and whatever. Starts at 6. You're all invited. The 29th is another public meeting for the fire hall to answer questions for the public. And it's down at the fire station. You're all invited to that. And of course, on August 3rd. Was the 75th anniversary for the fire department. And they're having an open house out here with movies and food trucks, and they even got a permit to serve alcohol. And that's gonna be from 4 to 10. And you're all invited to that. And other than that, and the election is November 6th, or excuse me, August 6th. That's all I have.
What was the first thing you mentioned?
The Act Now picnic over at the marina on Monday, it's Monday the 15th.
Monday it says.
6, yeah. It's free. It says all you have to do is bring a chair. Everything else is gonna be supplied this year.
It's,
Right, I saw that.
yeah, it's the annual meeting, I'm the vice chair of that, it's the annual meeting. They have, so they'll have election of the officers that's on the board, and then. This year's the 25th, so there's some little extra goodies handed out with the food, coffee mugs, and.
What was the date?
It's this Monday, the 15th, 6 o'clock at the Garish Township Marine.
That's all I have.
What all day was that?
The 29th. That's a Monday.
And the 3rd is that celebration. August.
What time, when it all started?
7. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Jared. Thank you. Greg had a motion to adjourn. That was. We didn't have a second. Yeah, it's good. No, but we got a second. Wait a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Good meeting, guys.
Adjourned. 2050.